Alright, hello everyone. It is time for getting into the reviews. We got three characters that we need to review over the next little bit. Obviously, the Final Fantasy 15 characters will be a priority, but first I wanted to talk about our new selection quest unit. That's right. We are getting a selection quest for the fire element here on the JP side, and the character that we are getting is Minwu, a character that we've seen in the story. I think quite a few people always confuse this character with Naya, who is Schultz's dead wife. But there is more than one white mage. This character has been a long time coming to the game because it feels just like forever that she's been around, kind of thing. I definitely don't exactly remember when we were first introduced to her, but she was like with Classy, right? Very early on. And so we're going to take a look at this character today. We're going to give her a review and whether or not Globalers should be starting to prepare lower tier fire units to get ready to do this selection quest. And so let's get right into it. Let's talk about her. And thankfully, shout outs to Wotv, which is making my life way easier, as it always does. I give them a little bit of props. So, anyway, Minwu, or Minwu, because she is so absolutely adorable, is a character that has a brand new class. It is roughly translates out to being Guru. But I don't think that's the one. It might end up being Devout. It might be... there's a few different classes that it could end up being labeled as. But for now, I'm just going to call it the Devout class because it is essentially a healer slash buff class slash mage class. So that's what I'm going to go with, at least for now. I guess Oracle. But we'll anyway. She is a fire UR. She is a selection quest, meaning you don't really need to spend resources getting her Sense of Lapis or trying to go through the gacha or anything like that. That's really nice. Oh yeah, and her secondary job are Cleric and Time Mage. I mistook the icon earlier for being Messenger or Kotodama, and that is not what it is. It's Cleric. Whoops, my bad. Weapons, rod, hat, cloth, and accessory for equipment and armor. And we'll get into talking about it. So first of all, taking a look at her TMR. Here you can see the stats, 12 critical evade. Nice little rounded piece of equipment with some extra HP. TMR skill, 2 uses, 28 T a piece. Increase max HP and restore HP raised. We know now that this is a 20% HP raise, which, again, this is a fire elemental character. And if you think about the fire element, you have Mont, you are Mont, and you have Rain, and you have Glassy. 3 characters with high amounts of HP and really defensive characters. This TMR is very nice for units like that, or, Warrior of Light, or any tank will love this ability because it essentially is making them tankier. But it's not only that, this buff lasts for 3 turns for allies, but it also nullifies Confuse, Disable, and Stun. Which is very strong. Removing status effects. I feel like I've seen Confusion and Stun a lot lately. And Disable to a certain extent. A really great TMR to get your hands on for removing status effects through a different way. And it's an accessory, meaning you still use the armor slot for stuff. Master ability does give her an extra boost to magic, getting into her resistances. As you can see here, she is a pretty brittle character. She doesn't have a ton of HP, and she never will. But essentially, this is a support character. So she should not be fighting for the most part. But just taking a look at her resistance, yeah, she's very anti-mage, and that is essential. Although you can see currently, even with nothing equipped on here, she does have a pretty nice spirit stat to begin with because of her support skill. And she can raise her defense a little bit more as well. That's good. It is going to make her a little bit more durable, but it's never actually going to fix the problem, which that she just can't really get into too much of a fight. So zooming out for a second here, let's talk about her skills, starting with Time Mage. She does have the Immobilize, Switch Target, she has Comet, she has Haste, Quicken, Levitate, and Slow. So basically the Time Mage's package. I don't think that there's anything too amazing here, but Time Mage is always very strong. It's not as strong as Ramir because she doesn't have Hastega, wasn't expecting that, but still, yeah, Quicken and Haste is probably good enough. Slow is even better. And this is probably the sub job I will be running Minwu. Taking a look at Cleric, HP restores, light and dark resistance increases, damage abilities, some damage and ability, dispel all ailments except for charm, slow, stop, and doom for allies with Sunaga. Really, Cleric feels nice for some extra stuff, mainly a Sunaga, I think. I don't think Cleric is anything you're ever going to be running too much unless you really want to get dark resistance because you're going up against other dark units. But we'll talk about that in a little. And continuing on to her main job. Now this is the thing that I think is really special. I mean, she has some HP restore abilities which are special. In the sub part of her job, she has a medium HP restore, which I think is totally throwawayable. Her other ability does give AoE resistance and slash resistance for herself by 20. I don't think it's enough to really be recommendable. I think you really want to be running Time Mage with this character, and that's about it. That's all that really needs to be said. But now we get into the way more interesting stuff in her kits. And so first of all, this ability here increases fire attack for allies, debuff resistance, and decreases her own activation time for both attack and non-attack skills. This also gets upgraded into her X, just dealing more damage. So it increases fire attack for an ally by 45 for 3 turns, which is a pretty big power boost. If you take a look at vision cards, a lot of vision cards sometimes give, 20. This is giving 45 for getting X. It's also giving her that unit a debuff resistance 30 for 3. So it's actually protecting the unit nicely, but it gives herself the skill activation reduction by 400 for 3 turns. Good, because she does have some skill activation, and essentially she's buffing someone else and buffing herself, which is continuing on. This is where I'm a little bit less knowledgeable about where stuff exactly. This is her second upgraded skill ability. It gives an ability, attack, and magic while also restoring HP for the target. 25% for agility, 40% for attack and magic, and a restore of HP by an okay amount. It's essentially a medium amount to restore. And if I remember here, I upgraded ability. I just realized that it's not listed on here, so I didn't make a note, but as I just stall for time and double check. Yes, I remember. This is incredibly important because and I just totally forgot it because I'm tired. This one, when it is upgraded in the X version, it gives a range and height increase to abilities. This is the thing that has pushed Minwu to me to being more of a character that you could essentially throw with a lot of different characters. Gunners would benefit from this. I'm not sure by how much. It's not listed on Wotv Calc, but I would assume the range and height is probably 1. 2 is probably a little too extreme because that's just really giving a big advantage for running this character. But yeah, if you think about like a lot of characters that are limited by range or height, this is a very interesting. I super want to test it, but it's going to be a little while before I've gotten her into X, but it is one of the things that I think is just really cool. All right. And then we're just going to get into she has a defense and spirit increase. This one is here. As you can see, it is AoE. It increases by 20 for each, and also increases her own healing power, which is good. She's that, so she's an effective healer. And the last one is Sleep Explosion or Sipple Explosion. 220% modifier, so fairly darn strong to begin with. But it is AoE. It has a 25% chance to inflict sleep. It's 34 AP, so it's not the highest cost, and you times. But it's so synergistic with Fire Glassy, who can take advantage of the sleep status effect, that this is a really scary good get for the fire element. Minwu, yeah. But her last skill is the really big one. It's Ultima. She actually just gets Ultima, the ultimate magic spell, 260% modifier, 40 AP, 2 casts, and it not only does all that damage, it actually increases her spirit penetration by 40 for a single turn, and her magic resistance penetration by 40 for a single turn. So yeah, I mean, it's a short-term effect, but it's strong when hitting the enemy. You're essentially just looking at dealing a mass amount of damage. It's essentially a upgraded flare for a more magic resistant world, but it's really cool to see this, and it does give her quite the unique skill. I'm curious when other units are going to end up getting this, but very powerful, like this a lot, and very happy to see it. But yeah, taking a look at her counters, nothing really amazing here. As a matter of fact, it's weird, but her counter for Cleric is the exact same as the counter for her main job, and that's pretty unexciting. I'm not really sure if you run that. I mean, it counters all damage, and if she has increased healing power, it might be just good enough. Taking a look at her support skills, her support skill for her main job increases her defense and spirit by 15, but decreases her magic attack by 20. And that's a little concerning. I don't know if you necessarily want to run that, but maybe you do. She also has an increased spirit from Cleric, and Time Mage gives her the Nullify of Haste Slow, stop and quicken for herself, but also decrease her skill activation, which may not be. Alright, so overall, thoughts about Minwu. There she is. I think pros, she is an incredibly strong non-elemental magic. Ultima is non-elemental and gets around a lot of defensive capabilities when you think of other weapons that are currently already available that have ways of getting around some protection against mage damage. This is a really, I think she is quite a powerful character, just looking at what she can do. Her fire buffs are incredible for making a defensive element more stronger than it already is. I think she's capable of giving great support not only to her own element, but to other characters, both in a range and height increase, which is on skills, which is very unique, but also just buffing all, being capable of buffing all of their stats. So I think she's perfect. No. Durability to physical is questionable. She's maybe a little too fire specific to be run. And that brings into the AI. She's a healer / supporter, so she's always going to be doing that as opposed to dealing damage. So while it's nice that she has attack-based skills, are they ever going to be used by the AI? Probably not. But still, I think Minwu is a really awesome character for a selection quest character with some unique stuff in her kit that makes her really special and put into one of the stronger elements, because honestly, Fire has been proving that a mono fire elemental team is a force to be reckoned with in Arena. It's so defensive because of the characters it already has, and because of Fire Glassy on the JP side, it's become more offensive too. Throw in a healer that can end up being support, and I think in non-AI situations, this is just really dangerous, because she also has Time Mage to make the element faster too. So yeah, I think that Minwu fits in incredibly well into the fire element. I think she's a great little new version of a white mage, and she's definitely adorable to boot. So I would recommend thinking about, building a Seymour or a Stola if you've been around long enough, or maybe some other fire lower elemental characters, and get them ready, because I think this is a really good set. Anyway, that's all for this review. Thanks for watching. Take care, and see you for the Final Fantasy 15 one.